Los Angeles, a sprawling metropolis known for its diversity and vibrant culture, is currently the center of significant civil unrest. The situation began last Friday, when a series of immigration raids were conducted across the city by federal agents. These actions, ordered by the Trump administration, targeted undocumented immigrants, leading to numerous arrests and detentions. The raids immediately sparked outrage among many residents, immigration advocates, and community leaders. People quickly organized to voice their opposition, viewing the federal actions as an aggressive and unjust measure against their communities. This initial response grew rapidly, setting the stage for larger demonstrations that would soon grip the city and capture the nation's attention. The protests that erupted were largely driven by a coalition of community groups, student organizations, and families directly affected by the immigration enforcement actions. Their message was one of solidarity and resistance. Demonstrators gathered in large numbers, particularly outside federal buildings like the Metropolitan Detention Center, which became a focal point for the protests. Chants for justice and calls to end the raids echoed through the downtown streets as people held signs and banners expressing their anger and fear. While the majority of these gatherings have been peaceful, characterized by passionate speeches and organized marches, the tense atmosphere has occasionally led to confrontations and scattered incidents of conflict. As the weekend progressed, the scale of the protests expanded. What started in Los Angeles began to inspire similar demonstrations in other major U.S. cities, including Chicago. The movement gained momentum, fueled by social media and continuous news coverage that showed thousands of people taking to the streets. The core of the protest remained focused on immigration policy, but it also tapped into broader frustrations about federal overreach and the treatment of marginalized communities. The sustained presence of demonstrators day after day signaled that this was not a fleeting moment of anger, but a determined and organized movement demanding significant policy changes from the highest levels of government. Unfortunately, amidst the largely peaceful demonstrations, there have been isolated instances of violence and property damage. According to the Los Angeles Police Department, some individuals, often described as a small group of agitators, have engaged in destructive behavior. Reports have detailed scattered clashes with law enforcement, incidents of rock throwing, and some cases of arson. These actions have complicated the narrative of the protests, creating a challenge for both organizers who wish to maintain a peaceful message and city officials trying to manage public safety. The LAPD has made numerous arrests, with over 180 people taken into custody in the region since the demonstrations began, adding another layer of tension to an already volatile situation. In a significant escalation, the federal government responded to the ongoing unrest by deploying military forces to the Los Angeles area. On Tuesday, June 10, 2025, approximately 700 U.S. Marines arrived at the Seal Beach Naval Weapons Station, located about 30 miles south of the city center. This deployment was authorized directly by President Donald Trump. The stated mission for these Marines is to protect federal property and government personnel from any potential threats arising from the protests. Their arrival marks a rare and serious step, bringing active-duty military personnel into a domestic situation involving civilian demonstrations, a move that has drawn both support and intense criticism from various quarters. The Marines are not the only military presence ordered into the region. In addition to the active-duty troops, President Trump has also activated 4,000 National Guard troops specifically for deployment in Los Angeles. As of Tuesday, around 2,100 of these Guard members are already on the ground in the greater LA area. Their role, similar to that of the Marines, is to provide support to federal law enforcement and secure key federal locations. The presence of these uniformed soldiers is now a visible part of the city's landscape, particularly near federal courthouses and detention centers. This combined force represents a substantial federal intervention aimed at asserting control and preventing any further escalation of violence or property destruction. The justification for this military presence comes directly from the White House. President Trump has stated that the deployments were necessary to prevent chaos, remarking that without this federal intervention, Los Angeles would be burning right now. his administration has framed the move as a crucial measure to restore law and order and to ensure that federal operations can continue without disruption. Furthermore, the president has kept open the possibility of invoking the Insurrection Act of 1807. This controversial law would grant him the authority to use the military for civilian law enforcement purposes, a step that would dramatically expand their role beyond just protecting federal property and cross a long-standing line in American governance. The actions of federal agencies on the ground have further fueled the controversy surrounding the military's role. On Tuesday, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, posted images to its official X social media account that appeared to show National Guard troops accompanying ICE officers during an immigration raid. This imagery has intensified the debate over the military's involvement. Critics argue that such actions blur the lines between military support and direct participation in civilian law enforcement, which is restricted by law. The visual of armed soldiers participating in immigration enforcement has become a powerful symbol for those who believe the federal response is a dangerous and politically motivated overreach of executive power. The decision to send federal troops to Los Angeles has been met with strong and unified opposition from California's state and local leadership. Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass have both been vocal critics of the deployment, labeling it a politically motivated and unnecessary overreaction. They argue that local and state law enforcement are fully capable of managing the protests and maintaining public safety. Mayor Bass has repeatedly emphasized that Los Angeles is a city of immigrants and has publicly stated her intention to ask President Trump to stop the raids, which she sees as the root cause of the unrest. Her focus remains on de-escalation and addressing the community's underlying grievances. In response to the federal action, the state of California has turned to the legal system to challenge the deployment. On Monday, California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit against President Trump and the Department of Defense, seeking to block the use of military troops in the city. The lawsuit argues that the deployment is an unconstitutional intrusion into state affairs and a violation of principles that separate military and civilian authority. The state's legal team is moving quickly, and on Tuesday, they sought an immediate court ruling to prevent the troops from engaging in any form of police enforcement. A hearing on this critical matter has been scheduled for Thursday, setting the stage for a major legal showdown. The core of the state's legal argument centers on the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. This federal law generally forbids the use of the U.S. military to act as a police force within the United States. Attorney General Bonta has expressed grave concerns that having federal troops protect ICE personnel during raids could directly violate this long-standing statute. He argues that such actions constitute direct involvement in civilian law enforcement, a role reserved for local, state, and designated federal police agencies. The outcome of this legal challenge could have profound implications for the balance of power between the federal government and the states, particularly during times of domestic unrest. From Washington, President Trump has defended his decision with unwavering resolve. He has portrayed the situation in Los Angeles as one of extreme danger that local leaders have failed to control, thus necessitating a strong federal response. By suggesting that the city would be burning without the troops, he has painted a picture of chaos that justifies his actions. The president's rhetoric, combined with the potential invocation of the Insurrection Act, signals a willingness to assert federal authority forcefully. This starkly contrasts with the perspective of state officials, who see the deployment as a provocative move that worsens tensions rather than calming them, creating a deep political and philosophical divide over how to govern and police American cities. The ongoing protests and the heavy military presence have had a tangible and disruptive impact on the daily lives of Angelenos, especially those living and working in the affected neighborhoods. The downtown area, where many demonstrations are concentrated, has been transformed. Streets that are typically bustling with commerce and traffic are now frequently blocked by marches or police lines. For residents, the constant sound of helicopters overhead and sirens in the distance has become the new normal. The tension is palpable, and many people feel caught between their support for the protesters' message and their desire for a return to peace and stability in their community. Business owners, particularly those in areas like Little Tokyo, have faced significant challenges. This neighborhood witnessed intense clashes on Monday night. and in the aftermath, shopkeepers were left to clean up graffiti and repair damage. One local business owner recounted how a young man wearing a mask used a skateboard to shatter the glass door of his establishment. These acts of vandalism, though carried out by a small minority, have inflicted real financial and emotional costs on small business owners who are already navigating a difficult economic climate. The fear of further damage has led some to board up their windows, while others have had to temporarily close their doors, disrupting livelihoods and the local economy. In an effort to curb the sporadic violence and looting that has occurred under the cover of darkness, city leaders are considering implementing a curfew for the downtown Los Angeles area. Mayor Karen Bass indicated that this measure is being discussed as a way to separate the peaceful, legitimate protesters from the small number of agitators who are causing destruction. A curfew would be a significant step, restricting the movement of all residents in the designated zone during nighttime hours. While it could help restore order, such a measure would also be a major imposition on the lives of thousands of people and could be seen by some as another form of government overreach. As the city navigates this complex crisis, the future remains uncertain. The scheduled court hearing on Thursday will be a pivotal moment, potentially determining the legal limits of the military's role in Los Angeles. The outcome could either de-escalate the situation by pulling troops back or intensify the confrontation between state and federal authorities. In the meantime, the people of Los Angeles are left to cope with the consequences. The debate over immigration, federal power, and the right to protest continues to play out on their streets, profoundly shaping the character and mood of the city in this turbulent chapter of its history.